With the 1-year anniversary of Pandora, the world of Avatar, coming up, as well as the 20th anniversary of the Animal Kingdom Park, today we're exploring 10 hidden details of Pandora. Pandora is the newest land of Animal Kingdom, and it's filled with countless tiny details. The area has 2 attractions, dining options, and some unique merchandise offerings. No matter how many times you visit, you'll always notice something new. As you're walking up the pathway in the Avatar Flight of Passage queue, just before entering the caves, look to your left. Hidden in an opening in the back of the giant floating mountain on your right is a group of sleeping animals called Stingbats. Stingbats are small flying creatures with 4 eyes that live on Pandora. They are the Banshee's favorite food and can be seen flying around in the background of the Avatar film as well as on the ride. Just like bats back on Earth, Stingbats also sleep upside down, which is how you see them here. There's not much wildlife outside of the 2 attractions in Pandora. There are sound effects that make it seem like the land is teeming with life, but only a few actual animals can be spotted. In addition to the Stingbats, you can also find some squirting aquatic creatures in the lagoon opposite Flight of Passage. And right behind those squirting creatures, if you look close enough, are some giant bugs. The bugs don't move and are hard to see if you're not looking for them, but you can definitely hear them buzzing and squeaking in this area. Pandora is filled with lots of real waterfalls, but there are also 2 fake ones. They are located near the very top of the very back of the land, on the facade for Flight of Passage. They're actually 2 rotating wheels that have been made to look like waterfalls. They fall slower than real water of that size to make them appear farther away and bigger than they are, really selling the idea of forced perspective. At the base of the fake waterfalls are some mesh and decoration that appear as mist coming from the splashdown, which helps to complete the illusion. In front of the Na'vi River journey, just to the right of the ride entrance, are a collection of large footprints embedded in the ground. These are the footprints of the Na'vi, and it's fun to compare your foot size to theirs. If you look on the right side of the snack stand Pongu Pongu, you'll also see some Na'vi handprints. There's more handprints all over the walls of the caves in the Flight of Passage queue as well. In the center of the land, you'll find the Sacred Place of Song, or Swatu Waye in Na'vi. Most people know it as the drum circle. Here, kids can play on the many different sounding instruments, and around once an hour or so, performers will come out and do a show. On one of the built-in bench areas, you'll see some pretty serious scratches. Perhaps the marks were made by a viper wolf, one of the animals seen on the Na'vi River journey ride. Whatever it was, they're a reminder that Pandora can be a dangerous place, even in a sacred spot. After you pass through the caves in the beginning of the queue for Flight of Passage, you enter an old area with metal corrugated walls. These rusty walls all have the same words and numbers on them. JC Shoring 8/1654. The JC stands for James Cameron, and the numbers represent his birthday, August 16, 1954. You can find this Easter egg all over the walls right before the bioluminescent jungle section of the queue. The science lab in the queue for Flight of Passage is probably everyone's favorite part of waiting for the ride. It's filled with cool effects and a full-size avatar in a cryo chamber, but it's also filled with lots of Easter eggs. There's several books scattered throughout the lab, including a few by famed animal behavior researcher Jane Goodall. There's a book by Dr. Ogden, the fictional scientist we meet during the ride's pre-show. She's the foremost expert on the Ikron, or Banshee as we call them, and she's left a few copies of her book for the chemists that work in this lab. One of the more hidden books is a nod to the original Avatar film. It's a book about Pandoran botany written by Dr. Grace Augustine, who is played by Sigourney Weaver in the movie. There's even a line in the film that says she literally wrote the book on Pandoran botany. Well, here's that book. As you're exiting Flight of Passage, in the corridor on the lowest level, you may see 3 handprints in red paint. These are the handprints and initials of James Cameron, the director of the Avatar film, John Landau, the producer of Avatar, and Joe Rohde, lead Imagineer for Pandora and all of Animal Kingdom. This was their way of leaving their stamp on the land after working on it for all those years. And it's kind of like the end credits for the attraction. Inside the land's quick service restaurant, Satuli Canteen, there are several framed photographs hanging near the registers. They show some of the plants and animals of Pandora, some explain the backstory for the land, and a few show off what the old mess hall looked like before the RDA left and it was converted into Satuli. The RDA is the corporation from the film that was mining in Pandora. RDA stands for Resources Development Administration. Now that they're gone and Alpha Centauri Expeditions has moved in, they've opened up the mess hall to use as their own food service area. And they've redecorated the dining area using Na'vi artifacts. It's interesting to see how the mess hall looked before the RDA was run out by the Na'vi. In one picture, we can see a mech suit, similar to the one in front of Pongu Pongu. You can find hundreds of traces of the long-gone corporation scattered throughout the land. Many of the buildings have been repurposed by Alpha Centauri Expeditions as dining halls, gift shops, and food stands that were originally built and left behind by the RDA. The structures are intended to look like modular buildings. The RDA had been mining resources all over the universe for decades, so they knew a thing or two about setting up shop in a quick and efficient manner. The manhole covers we see in the courtyard area are themed to look like locking mechanisms for a prefab slab. In reality, they're simply sewer access manholes. But in story, these were used to lock together multiple slabs of concrete to create the courtyard in front of the mess hall and munitions bunker when the RDA was mining on Pandora. Everything has been repurposed either by Ace or the Na'vi themselves. Pongu Pongu is filled with art created with leftover mechanical pieces. A row of RDA dog tags can be seen under the sign, and if you look closely, you may even spot one for Joe Rohde, the lead Imagineer. Nearby, the cast member backstage gate is themed to look like an access road to the unobtainium mining quarry. Other interesting touches are the signage and airlock keypads throughout the queue of Flight of Passage, as well as numerous outlines on the ground and walls from equipment that is no longer present. Wherever you find RDA logos, the items will be aged, rusted, and covered in moss, reclaimed by nature. Wherever you find Ace logos, the items will be shiny, new, and ultra-modern because Ace is the travel company that only recently moved in. It's a unique dichotomy present throughout the land. That's all for now. Stay tuned for more Animal Kingdom videos all month as we celebrate the park's 20th anniversary. And let me know in the comments what parks or attractions you'd like me to talk about next. Thanks for watching. See you next time.